I'm just going to read one verse right here. I got several that I'm going to probably go through just depending on time. But Hebrews 13, verse 17. It says, "Obey those who rule over you and be submissive, for they watch out for your souls for your souls as those who must give account. Let them do so with joy and not with grief, for that would be unprofitable for you." And that's talking about pastors. Okay? I had found this at 7 ways to pastor your pastor. And I read over it, and it's really, really good, talking about what we need to do for him. Because as you all know, as parents, you give and you give and you give and you give. When you go to your job, you give and you give and you give. You know, and it's really hard sometimes when you never receive anything back. You know, when you bust your tail at work and you never hear someone go, "Hey, I appreciate you doing that." Or "I appreciate you doing this." Or your kids, when you give them something, they don't ever tell you thank you. You know, in the back of your mind, you go, "Yes, it's my job to provide for them." But it is really nice to hear them say thank you. You know, to really appreciate what you do for them. So, you know, same way with our pastor, he gives and gives and gives. And, you know, I know we all tell him we love him and everything. But, you know, sometimes we kind of lose track, and we're kind of a selfish people. Human flesh and nature, we're selfish. We want to take care of us, take care of me. I know I tell my kids all the time, my youth group, I have a really bad problem of being a selfish person from my addiction in my past. And that's something I really battle with. You know, and we can't be that way. As being a Christian, that's definitely something you can't be, as a selfish person, because Jesus was never selfish. If he was selfish, he would have never come here in the first place. And he said, "You know what, y'all will go to hell on your own." But he didn't do that. So there again, to be a Christian, to be Christ-like. So that's what we do. So I'm going to kind of read through this. It's not, like I said, it's not going to be real long. So first, please understand that there's a problem in many churches. There are a lot of problems in many churches, and this is just one of them. In a cruel twist of irony, the only person without a pastor is the pastor himself. There are people of the church, they have a pastor. But here is the leader of the church who does he have? A group of deacons, a crew of volunteers, a lot of people who need his help. Does the pastor have a pastor? Does he have the same network of support, guidance, shepherding, and safety that the flock has? In many churches, the regretful answer is no. Across the world, pastors are placed on the pastor pedestal. They are esteemed but not encouraged. The well-known condition of a pastor burnout is often linked to the isolation and loneliness that a pastor feels within his own congregation. He may be appreciated as a great pastor, a fine encourager, and a great speaker, but he is not treated like the fallible, frail, and sin-prone sheep that he truly is. And as I was reading that there, it kind of really stuck out to me. I mean, that is so true. Pastoring your pastor is not an act of disrespect. It is one of the highest respects that church members can give to their pastor. Here are 7 ways we're going to learn to pastor your pastor. Remember, doing this will very likely change your pastor. But, you know, going back to, you know, he's a sheep just like we are. He may be our shepherd, but he is a sheep just like we are. And, you know, like I said, we sometimes, if you can think back when you were younger and you had your parents, we sometimes take a lot for granted. We really do. I mean, now that some of us, you know, have lost our parents and different things like that, you really, really appreciate the things that they taught you, the things that they've done, because, you know, it's just like when you lose something you can't replace. It holds that part in your heart and your mind for the rest of your life. You'll never forget the way they smelled, the way they talked, the way they cooked, the way they laughed, the way they sang, any of those things. It's the same thing for our pastor. You know, we really, you know, if we lost him tomorrow, I mean, where would we be? What would we be like? Of course, God's going to make a way. We're going to trust him just like he spoke about this morning. But, you know, would he really understand how much we appreciate him? First thing we have to do is we have to pray for our pastor. I don't know about y'all, but on my way to work every morning, it's kind of my thing, because once I get to work, I'm wide open. And I know many of you are too, but on my way to work, I make it a thing. I'll turn on 105.7 or 100.7, and I'll turn on and I'll get to worshiping. And one of my things I pray for is my pastor and his family, to bless them and protect them. That's one of my pet peeves every morning that I pray for. And that's one of the things that I keep. That's one of the first, before I pray for anything else in my life, I ask God to forgive me of my sins, and the next thing I speak of is my pastor and his family. We have to pray for our pastor. It's obvious, in fact, it's almost cliche. That's why this point needs to be repeated, underscored, highlighted, and emphasized. Pray for your pastor. Better yet, ask him how you can pray for him. Pray that God would grow him. Pray that he would exalt Jesus. Pray that he walks in the Spirit. Pray for his wisdom. Pray for him while he preaches. Pray for his purity. Pray for his faithfulness. Pray for his health. Pray for his family. Pray, pray, pray. Those are a lot of things. And you know what? It really takes a lot of consideration and a lot of effort to pray for somebody else's problems. I mean, how many of you have spirit problems? How many of us have wisdom problems? How many of us have problems while we're teaching Sunday school sometimes? Our purity, right? The way we think, the way we act, the way we talk, the way we dress sometimes. Pray for his faithfulness. How many of us definitely have a problem with faithfulness? I mean, all of us. You know, all of these things. Our health. Pray for his family. All of these things we need to pray for ourselves. We're like, hey, I got all those problems. I need you to pray for me like that. But also, you know what? Our pastor needs us to pray for him the same way. I mean, you can't give it so much. You know, I know a couple years ago when we were at camp, I believe Melanie and I were sitting in there, and the pastor was talking about percentages, and he was talking about how you give out so much and give out so much and give out so much that you have little to receive from. And he said, out of all the people in the churches, he said, you have 100%. He said, divide that out into what really pours back into a pastor. He said, you have 10% of people who are in the church, who are saved, dedicated, and who are interactive, and who are always there doing what they need to, Sunday school teachers, all of those things. Those 10%, those leaders, basically what we have in here tonight, which I believe is more than 10%, but that 10% at a minimum is what pours back into the pastor. Then you have 80% of who know what to do, who know where they need to be, who know what they need to be doing, and they know they're saved, but they don't act upon those things, and they're lukewarm. They don't give anything back. And then you have 10% of who are lost. That 10% of the leadership and the 10% of who are lost are what keep us going. How many of you get excited when a saved person comes in and sits down on the pew? Nobody. Right? When they sit there and they do their thing, hey, when we sit there and we do their thing, we do our thing, and we know what we're doing, we don't do it. Nobody's getting nothing out of it. We ain't getting nothing. Jesus ain't getting no glory. That's why that 80% of lukewarm ain't doing nothing for Jesus, and he ain't doing nothing for the pastor. That 10% who's on fire, hey, what can we do? Can we help? Can we do this? We have our ministry. There's so much outreach going on, helping this person, Sunshine Basket, you know, Mr. Wesley, all those things. Hey, that 10%, pastor sees that, and he gets excited. Hey, they're on fire. They're doing what I need them to do. And then you have that 10% that's lost. Hey, we all get excited when someone's lost and they get saved. Right? So there's only a 20% of what he's putting out of 100, he's only getting 20% back. So sometimes, you know, we really need to pray for our pastor. We really need to pray for him and show him, hey, listen, you know, we're behind you. We got your back. You know, I know there's been times throughout the day where I've texted him, or I've called him and said, hey, listen, I'll pray for you. For some reason, the Lord's got you on my mind. I'll pray for you. You know, do those things. Let him know, hey, listen, we're just more than just a Sunday morning, Sunday night, Wednesday night church. We love you 24/7. You know, he works a job just like the rest of us. Oh, Lord. All right, so pray for your pastor. Number 2, be a friend to your pastor, like a normal friend. Somehow many of us have missed out on the fact that a pastor guy may actually be a pretty good friend. Maybe we've even forgot that we can be his friend. Maybe he really needs friends. A big happy church is no sure sign that a pastor is surrounded by friends. Pastors are not too busy to have friends. They need solid, encouraging, genuine friendship. Be a friend to your pastor. I believe we're all friends to our pastor. I mean, there's many times where I know, you know, we go to, I know I haven't had a chance to, but I've heard of several going to their kids' events and football and different things like that. And those kids spending the night with other people here at the church and all of those things, right? Being a friend to our pastor, he needs friends too. You know, he's got friends at work, but he needs us to be his friend. We need to have that relationship with him, that close encouragement. Number 3, encourage your pastor. It should come as no major shock that pastors can get discouraged. Make it a point to provide encouragement to your pastor when you can. Some people are great at false encouragement. This is encouragement from the guy who sleeps through the entire service, then gives the pastor a huge smile on his way out. Great sermon, pastor. Outstanding. Touched my heart. Amen. That's not encouragement. Instead, before I get into this. Yeah, and that's so true. Hey, listen, let me tell you something. You can see everything from right here. Everything. Anytime you're in this position, you see everything. And I know, listen, I've been one. My wife's had to nudge me while she thought I was praying, because my head went a little too far. Hey, but you get tired sometimes. I guarantee the preacher sits right here sometimes when I'm preaching, he's probably like, I'm just praying. But we have to encourage him. We can't show him one thing and tell him another.
She thinks you're funny.
Crazy. Alright, so encourage our pastor, right? Instead of doing that, let's try this. Thank your pastor at a time other than on your way out the door. Be intentional, right? Other than, hey, that was a great sermon. Like I said, call him up during the week. Write your pastor an email or text expressing your appreciation. Share with your pastor a specific event in your life where his ministry helped change your life. There again, we know that our pastor is nothing without Jesus Christ. Because we are nothing without Jesus Christ. He has no authority, no power, anything like that without Jesus Christ. It's not our pastor who saved our soul, who blesses our church, who makes us grow. It's not our pastor who does all that. It's Jesus who lives inside of him. But you know what? There again, it's okay to let him know, hey, listen, thank you for being in God's will. Thank you for listening to what God's telling you. Thank you for taking the time out of your family's life that we wouldn't take and doing what God has called you to do. Because it is so hard. That man has a full-time job. How many of us have full-time jobs in here? And it's hard enough trying to study for Sunday school. That's just once. He's got to do it 3 times. And possibly 7 days a week, 24 hours a day when someone calls him up. I mean, how many times you look at your phone and that one person calls and you're like, not tonight. Not tonight, Lord, not tonight. I ain't got the patience for it. Lucy, you raising your hand? Is that your mama when she calls you? That's what she said the other day. But no, I mean seriously though, really, he has a lot on him. We really need to at least, tie things back in. Hey, listen, I was thinking about this the other day. The Lord's put this on my heart. Different things like that. I mean, use what you got. Encourage your pastor. Challenge your pastor. Just like you, your pastor is human. He makes mistakes. He sometimes does not have the energy to put his best foot forward. Sometimes he might even be having a bad day. Why grill him for that? When we do the exact same, challenging your pastor is not telling your pastor that his sermons are boring. Okay, we don't need to do that. Or they're too short. Or that his tie clashes with his shirt. I think we picked on him by the socks a time or two. Or that he's getting paid too much. Or he seems arrogant. Or anything else that irks you. A true challenge comes from the love with the aim of pushing your pastor closer to God and His Word. We all need grace, and it's your mandate to show mercy and grace with the same love as you were dependent on. In the end, regardless of job title and position in church, we are all broken humans being in need of a loving embrace of our Savior. Challenging our pastor. I remember before we had our first revival, what was that, last year? Yeah, with Brother Greg Carter. We had our revival. And I know one of the things Brother Trent really struggled with, because he called me like 4 or 5 times about this. He said, I just don't know if anybody's going to come to it. And I challenged him. I said, Brother Trent, if there was but one person to show up on Sunday morning, would you still preach your message? And he said, yes. I said, then what are you worried about? Who cares if just one... I said, that's the one person Brother Greg may come to and preach to for 3 days. They're the ones that God may intend for them to hear that message. I said, quit doubting God and trust Him. And he says, you're exactly right. I said, if you would do it, then let Brother Greg do it. I said, trust God. Don't worry about that. Who cares if 2 people show up? If nobody shows up and you and Brother Greg have church, isn't that what it's about? We're not here for you. We're not here for our pastor. We're not here to make numbers. We're here for God. We're here to worship Him. And hey, that's the thing sometimes. You ever made a plan and you're just like, hey, listen, I have a birthday party like we were doing a while ago for the pastor appreciation. It's the 30th. If you can't make it, sorry, that's when we're all going to do it. Some of us have to work. Some of us have things that go on. Hey, same way. That's how I challenge our pastor. I'm like, hey, do it. Just do it. Set it up. If they show up, they show up. If they don't, they don't. And we had a great time. I think we had a good time though. Same thing with VBS and different things like that sometimes we struggle about as teachers. I want to do this, but I just don't know if it's going to work. Challenge yourself. Challenge our pastor. You know, if he's not, hey, if you feel like he needs to sit in your Sunday school on a Sunday morning to just kind of boost the morale of your class, hey, challenge him. Hey, I need you to come sit in our class just to help out. I guarantee you he'll be there. Challenge him. If you need his help, challenge him. You know, and if he's not doing what he's supposed to, challenge him. Hey, you're slacking. Your messages are under 30 minutes. What's going on? You know what I mean? Our food is not even done in the oven yet because you're getting out too early. Or this and that. Challenge him. You know, all of those things. We need to challenge our pastor. It's good to be challenged sometimes. Treat your pastor like a real person. Part of the pastor's role is understanding that people are people. People make mistakes. It is true that pastoral ministry does not give a huge margin of error. The qualifications are high and the cost is steep. But at the same time, pastors are subject to temptation and sin just as much as the next guy. Trust your pastor like the human he is. I know with law enforcement experience, how many of you have ever seen the tags on the front of the cars, the sticker, and it has all black and it's got one little blue line through it? And the saying of that is called the thin blue line, walking the thin blue line. And that means, that represents, is as you're a law enforcement officer, there is a very, very small margin of error to either be off this way or off that way. And as we see on a daily basis, it seems like now, you know, with shootings and unarmed people and with armed people and people thinking this and all that, whatever it is, you know, the court system has to do its job. But there's a very, very small margin for officers to make a decision in under a second. I mean, think about Wednesday night. What if something would have happened that quick? Could we have done that? Could we have made the right decision? But you know what's even worse than that? What's even more strict than that? Is I truly believe that the bloodline that a pastor has to walk is even smaller than that. Because not only does he have to, a police officer just has to be good at his job. He has to make a split decision when he's at work. A pastor has to be on his toes 24/7. Now a police officer does too, but when he's off duty, he's not known. Some people may not know he's an officer. He does have a uniform on, but a pastor doesn't have to have a uniform. A pastor is called. He is anointed. He is all. Here's the thing about the difference between a cop and a pastor. A cop is represented upon the outside. A pastor is a representation of what's on the inside. And to me, that's an internal battle. A uniform, you look and you go, oh yeah, I'm a police officer. A pastor has to remind himself in his heart and in his mind, I can't do those things. I can't drink that. I can't eat that. I can't look at that. I can't think that anymore. I can't say that. And how many times have we heard Brother Trent up here stand and admit to things he said at his work that he shouldn't have said? Or things that he should have done that he didn't do. You know, there again, our pastor is a real person. And we need to understand that. When he stands up here and he says those things, I remember one of the biggest things that really stood out to me. And I haven't talked to him, but you remember the guy who worked for him. He was having the heart surgery. And he said that guy sat around and he never asked him if he was saved or not. And he died while he was in surgery. They brought him back. Oh, was it 4 or 5 times or something like that? He died. I mean, I haven't heard anything since then. But to me, I really believe it. Brother Trent was really, really, really just hurt by that because he didn't do what he was supposed to. There again, he's a human just like the rest of us. He has to, you know, he has those things where he makes mistakes too. I mean, many of us probably would have sat back and said, why didn't you ask him? Well, did you? You know, how many people have passed you on a daily basis? Did you ask them if they were saved? If you could pray for them? I mean, there again, he's a human just like us. I got 2 more. Give your pastor a break. Pastors need some time off now and then. Every job is tough. Each occupation has its own stresses and demands. The job of pastor is no different. It is important that pastors occasionally unplug and maybe just go somewhere else for a while. Call it vacation, call it sabbatical, call it whatever. Just let him take a break. In fact, insist on it. I think our pastor does a good job of taking a break. And he deserves it. He deserves it, okay? He does. He works his tail off as a man and as a man of God, and he deserves a break every now and then. Hey, and many times we look around, there's people not in here. Hey, listen, you got to take a break. Hey, listen, I love y'all, but y'all get on my nerves sometimes. And I know vice versa. Y'all see me and you're like, oh, geez, Lord have mercy. Not today, Emmett. I ain't got time. I don't want to talk about hunting or anything else. So, give your pastor a break. I think we do a good job of that. Lastly, lower your expectations regarding your pastor's family. We saved a big one for last. Don't expect too much from the pastor's family. Let's start with the pastor's wife. Assuming that the pastor is a man who is married to a woman, which of course he would only be married to a woman. He's our pastor. Don't expect his wife to be the church pianist and organist. Sorry. I had my Spanish on. It's okay. I'm flesh. Remember, I'm human too. Simultaneously, Sunday school teacher, ladies group leader, luncheon coordinator, play date planner, homeschool co-op facilitator, make of all the meals for sick people and the moms who just had babies, and counselor of every woman in the church. In many churches, the pastor's wife has morphed into the pastor's wife, an official church position that must be somewhere in the book of 2 Titus, and it says, he has in quotations, wait, I'm still looking it up. Such expectations are often too lofty. Okay, desist next. Okay, so the pastor's wife is talking about how, I think, I love Miss Juvenile to death. And as women's ministry, one of the things she's always talked about being home and being involved more in church. And, I think that's kind of worked out for her. She's still working now and different things like that. But I have no complaints against our pastor's wife, other than she's crazy sometimes. And like she's walking in the church screaming like someone threw a bug on her or something. But other than that, I really love Miss Juvenile. I think she's a hard-working woman. Let me tell you something. I really don't know if Brother Trent would be who he is without her. Okay? Because I know for a fact I wouldn't be who I am without my wife. That's one of those big things that, it's kind of in the background that you don't ever see. But they have a big part. It said, next, beware of your lofty expectations for the pastor's kids. Sure, a pastor is supposed to manage his household, but that doesn't mean his kids are the cherubs. I guess that would be angels. They are kids. Kids do stuff that, well, kids do. When we stuff our ideas of the perfect pastor's family into real life of a real pastor with a real wife and real kids, we can be a source of huge discouragement. Let's cut them some slack also. So, those things, I don't think, there again, I don't think we got to worry about his kids neither. As we all hear, the awful pastor's kids. I think, Madison's turned out pretty well. We haven't had to beat her down or anything like that. This Tammy straightened up Braxton and Ryder. We don't have to worry about her. And, they're already in the future, so we were good on that. So, between the family and different things like that, I think Brother Trent's got a good support system. We've heard about him wanting to quit on Sunday mornings and everything else. But there again, he's our pastor. I love Brother Trent. I know you guys love Brother Trent. But take those things into consideration when you talk about your pastor. Pray for your pastor. Be a friend to your pastor. Encourage your pastor. Challenge your pastor. Treat your pastor like a real person. Give your pastor a break. And lower your expectations regarding your pastor's family. All of those things I really felt like as I read this today, I said, that is so true. We so forget about that he's a human just like the rest of us. And I think our pastor does a good job. I think he does an amazing job. Because it seems like with, the book studies that we've had and then we do on Sunday nights between I'm a church member, the 26 most important minutes of the day for a leader, those things spoke to me, and now the one of a dying church. All of those things, hey, listen, how can you avoid a snake if you don't know what he looks like if he's poisoned? I mean, that's one of the things, I tell you, I don't know if I told you all this, but our youth group one time, we were talking about Adam and Eve, and we were talking about how Satan came in the form of the snake, and he spoke to Eve. They said, why didn't they just understand that snakes aren't supposed to speak? I said, because at that time, that was probably the first one they may have ever seen that spoke. They didn't know what God had done, what they didn't do. So there again, if you've never been taught, you never learned, you don't know. So our pastor does a good job of staying ahead and really listening to God. I like the fact of how he preaches. Like this morning, he spoke of how, not to have fear, how our trust and our security is in God, and that's true. So anyways, didn't really want to preach a whole lot tonight, but I wanted to remind y'all, we need to do those things for our pastor. I love him. And I know he's a man just like the rest of us. Hey, listen, let me tell you something. He gives up a lot more than what we see. And I don't know about y'all, there are a lot of things that I enjoy in life. I love to go hunting. I love to go fishing. There's a lot of things that I love that I don't necessarily give up because I feel like I need to. Because like I said, I'm selfish. But I see our pastor do that all the time. But anyways, I'm going to quit talking about him. Anybody else have anything you want to add to that, or any concerns or questions or anything like that? No? Okay. I'm one of those kind of feedback preachers. I like answers. Y'all should see your teenagers when I ask them a question. They're all like, are we supposed to text that? Put that on Facebook, or however you respond. You got to use your mouth, okay? But